I stood there, frozen, staring at the envelope in my hand. It was my 45th birthday. The morning sun was streaming through the tall windows of what I thought was my mansion. My husband, Marcus, was smiling. My 2 children, Olivia and Ethan, were standing beside him, arms crossed, faces cold as stone. And in that moment I realized this wasn't a celebration, this was an execution. "Happy birthday, Victoria," Marcus said, his voice dripping with mock sweetness. "Go ahead. Open it." My hands trembled as I tore the envelope open. Divorce papers. My eyes scanned the words, but they didn't make sense at first. Then I saw it. The property settlement, the business transfer documents, the custody agreements already signed. Everything I had built, everything I had sacrificed for. Gone. Taken. Stolen. "What? What is this?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Olivia, my 22-year-old daughter, let out a sharp laugh. "It's exactly what it looks like, Mother. You're out. We're done with you." I looked at Ethan, my 19-year-old son, hoping to see some hesitation, some guilt. But his face was blank, cold. He looked at me like I was a stranger. "Why?" I managed to say, my throat tightening. "Why would you do this?" Marcus stepped closer, his smile fading into something darker. "Because you're weak, Victoria. You always have been. You think you built this empire? You think you made us rich? No. I did. I took your ideas, your connections, and I turned them into something real. You were just the face, the pretty decoration." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. For 23 years, I had stood by this man. I had given up my career as a financial consultant to help him build his investment firm. I had poured my inheritance into the business when banks wouldn't give us loans. I had worked 18-hour days, managed clients, secured deals, all while raising 2 children and maintaining a perfect home. And this was my reward. "You can't do this," I said, my voice shaking. "This is my house, my business. You signed a lot of things, Victoria," Marcus interrupted, pulling out another set of papers. "Including a post-nuptial agreement 3 years ago. Remember that night you had a little too much wine at the charity gala? You signed this. It says that in the event of a divorce, all business assets remain with me. The house, the cars, the accounts, everything." My blood ran cold. I remembered that night. I had been exhausted, overwhelmed. Marcus had handed me some papers, said it was just an insurance policy update. I had trusted him. I had signed without reading. "That's fraud," I said, my voice rising. "I didn't know what I was signing. I can fight this." Olivia stepped forward, her eyes hard. "You can try, but we have lawyers, Mother. The best money can buy. And we have time. You have nothing." Ethan finally spoke, his voice quiet but cutting. "You were always so busy trying to be perfect. Always trying to control everything. You never even noticed how miserable we were. Dad gave us freedom. He gave us a real life. You just gave us rules and expectations. The betrayal cut deeper than any divorce papers could. My own children. The babies I had carried, nurtured, sacrificed everything for. They hated me. You have 24 hours to pack your personal belongings, Marcus said, checking his watch. After that, security will escort you out. Oh, and don't bother going to the office. I've already informed the board of your resignation. They were very understanding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But something inside me, something old and fierce, refused to break. I'm not leaving, I said quietly. Marcus laughed. You don't have a choice. I'm not leaving, I repeated, louder this time. This is my home, my business, and I will fight you with everything I have. For just a moment, I saw something flicker in Marcus's eyes, uncertainty, fear, maybe. But then it was gone, replaced by cold confidence. Good luck with that, he said. You're going to need it. They left me standing there, alone in the foyer of the mansion I had designed, in the life I had built. And as I looked around at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the family, photos on the walls, photos of smiling faces that were all lies, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg, I wasn't going to cry, I was going to do something much, much worse. I was going to destroy them. The first night was the hardest. I packed a single suitcase with clothes and documents. I didn't cry, I couldn't afford to. I needed to think clearly, plan carefully. Marcus had underestimated me once before, in the early days of our business. He wouldn't make that mistake again. I checked into a small hotel on the edge of town, the kind of place where people paid cash and didn't ask questions. As I sat on the worn bedspread, staring at the stained ceiling, I pulled out my phone and started making a list. First, I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. I called my old colleague, Richard Chen, a forensic accountant who owed me a favor from years ago. "Victoria?" he answered, surprise in his voice. "It's been ages. What's going on?" "Richard, I need your help, and I need you to keep this completely confidential." There was a pause. "Are you in trouble?" "You have no idea." We met the next morning at a small cafe 2 towns over. I explained everything: the divorce papers, the post-nuptial agreement, the business takeover. Richard listened carefully, taking notes on his tablet. "This is bad, Victoria," he said finally. "If you sign that agreement, even under duress, it's going to be nearly impossible to fight in court. And if Marcus has the board on his side—" "I know," I said. "That's why I'm not going to fight fair." Richard looked at me over his coffee cup. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I need you to audit the business. Every transaction, every account, every deal from the last 5 years. I need to know where Marcus is vulnerable. That could take weeks, and if he finds out, he won't, because I still have access to something he doesn't know about. 20 years ago, when we first started the business, I had set up a secondary data backup system. Marcus thought I was being paranoid, but I had seen too many businesses fail because of lost data. So I had created an encrypted cloud backup that automatically mirrored every file in the company's system. And I was the only one who knew the password. "Can you get me into the system without triggering any alerts?" Richard asked. "I can do better than that. I can give you everything." Over the next 2 weeks, Richard worked around the clock. I stayed away from the mansion, ignored the calls from my lawyer, Marcus's lawyer really, and focused on surviving. I took a job as a waitress at a diner. It was humbling, degrading even, but it kept me busy and gave me cash. My co-workers didn't know who I was. To them, I was just Victoria, the new girl who kept her head down and didn't complain. But at night, back in my hotel room, I was someone else. I was a woman plotting the systematic destruction of everyone who had betrayed me. Then Richard called. "Victoria, you need to sit down for this." I'm sitting. "What did you find?" "Everything. Marcus has been embezzling from the company for at least 3 years. He's set up offshore accounts, shell companies, the whole operation. He's moved at least $12 million out of the business and into his personal accounts." My heart raced. "Can you prove it?" "I have transaction records, emails, bank statements." He wasn't even careful about it. He thought he was untouchable. "What else?" Richard hesitated. "Victoria, he's been planning this divorce for over a year. I found emails between him and his lawyer discussing how to structure the business to minimize your claim. There are also emails to Olivia and Ethan, coaching them on what to say, how to act. He orchestrated the whole thing. The anger I had been suppressing for weeks finally erupted, not as tears or screams, but as cold, crystallized fury. "Send me everything," I said. "Every file, every document, every email." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give Marcus exactly what he deserves." But there was a problem. Richard had found something else, something that changed everything. "Victoria, there's one more thing. It's about Olivia." "What about her?" "She's been in contact with someone named Julian Reeves. Do you know that name?" I froze. Julian Reeves was the investor I had introduced to Marcus 5 years ago. He had put $20 million into our business. He was also married with 3 children. What kind of contact? I asked slowly. The kind that involves hotel receipts and joint credit card purchases. Victoria. I think Marcus has been using Olivia to keep Julian invested in the business, and I don't think she knows he's married. My daughter, my 22-year-old daughter, was being used as bait by her own father. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about saving what was left of my family, even if they didn't know they needed saving. I needed more information before I made my move. So I did something I never thought I would do. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Diana Torres, and she came highly recommended by one of the other waitresses at the diner who had used her during her own messy divorce. Diana was nothing like I expected. She was young, maybe 30, with bright purple hair and a leather jacket. But when she looked at me, I saw intelligence and experience far beyond her years. "Let me guess," she said when we met. "Husband cheated. Took everything, left you with nothing?" "Something like that." "Well, you came to the right place. I specialize in exposing cheating spouses and corrupt business partners. What do you need?" I explained the situation. Diana listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her phone. "Okay," she said when I finished. "First question, do you want him back or do you want him destroyed?" "Destroyed," she smiled. "Good. I hate the reconciliation cases. They're boring. Second question, how far are you willing to go?" "As far as it takes?" "Perfect. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to follow Marcus, document his movements, his meetings, his relationships. I'm going to find out if he's cheating, who he's working with, what skeletons are in his closet. Meanwhile, you're going to do something harder." "What?" "You're going to reconnect with your kids, not as their mother, as a spy." I stared at her. "They hate me. They won't talk to me. They don't have to know it's you. You said Ethan is 19 in college? What's he studying?" "Business and economics." "Perfect. You're going to create a fake social media profile. You're going to pose as a student in his classes. You're going to befriend him online, gain his trust, and find out what Marcus has told them about you. People always reveal the truth to strangers. It was manipulative, it was dishonest, and it was brilliant. Over the next month, Diana followed Marcus everywhere. She photographed him meeting with shady business associates in expensive restaurants. She documented his visits to a luxury apartment I had never known existed. And she discovered something that made my blood boil. Marcus had a girlfriend, a 28-year-old paralegal from his lawyer's office named Melissa Grant. But it got worse. Diana found out that Melissa had been working with Marcus for over 2 years, helping him hide assets and structure the divorce to leave me with nothing. She wasn't just his mistress, she was his accomplice. Meanwhile, I was making progress with Ethan. I had created a profile under the name Sophie Martinez, a transfer student studying economics. I had joined the online forums for his classes and started commenting on his posts. He was smart, insightful, but also lost, confused. One night, Sophie sent him a direct message. "Sophie, hey, I saw your post about corporate ethics. Really interesting take. Mind if I ask you something?" "Ethan, sure, go ahead." "Sophie, you mentioned how family businesses can be complicated. Is that from personal experience?" There was a long pause. Then he started typing. "Ethan, yeah, my family owns an investment firm. Or, my dad does now. It's complicated." "Sophie, want to talk about it? Sometimes it's easier to vent to strangers, and that's when everything started pouring out." Ethan told Sophie about how his mother had been controlling and demanding. How his father had promised him freedom and partnership in the business. How his sister had convinced him that cutting me out was the only way to be happy. But then he said something that broke my heart. "Ethan, sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing. Mom wasn't perfect, but I don't know. Dad's different now, colder, and Olivia barely talks to me anymore. She's always with her new boyfriend, Sophie." "The older guy?" "Ethan, how did you know?" "Sophie, lucky guess." "Listen, Ethan, family is complicated. But from what you're telling me, it sounds like maybe you're seeing things more clearly now. Trust your gut, Ethan." "Maybe. I just wish I understood why Mom never fought back. She just disappeared. I stared at the screen, tears streaming down my face. He didn't hate me. He was confused, manipulated, and now he was starting to see the truth. That's when Diana called with the bombshell. "Victoria, I found something." "Something big. What is it?" "Marcus isn't just embezzling from the business. He's been defrauding clients. He's been using their investments to fund his personal lifestyle and then covering it up with fake returns. We're talking securities fraud, wire fraud, maybe even money laundering. This isn't just divorce court material. This is federal prison material." My hands started shaking. "How much?" "At least $30 million over 5 years." I closed my eyes. This was bigger than I had imagined. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice. "Diana, I need you to document everything. Every transaction, every victim, every lie. And then I need you to help me deliver it to the right people." "The FBI?" "Eventually. But first, I'm going to give Marcus one last chance to do the right thing. And when he refuses, because he will, I'm going to watch his entire world burn." I decided it was time to face Marcus. Not as the broken, defeated wife he thought I was, but as the woman who held his future in her hands. I called him from a burner phone. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Who is this?" "It's Victoria." "We need to talk." There was a pause. Then a cold laugh. "I have nothing to say to you. My lawyer will handle everything." "I'm not calling about the divorce, Marcus. I'm calling about your business. Or should I say, your fraud?" "Silence. I have documents," I continued. "Transaction records, emails, bank statements. I know about the offshore accounts. I know about the shell companies. I know about the $30 million you stole from your clients." "You're bluffing." "Am I? Then why don't we meet tomorrow? The coffee shop on Maple Street, noon. Come alone." I hung up before he could respond. The next day, I arrived early. I wore a simple black dress and sunglasses. I had lost weight from stress and exhaustion, but I stood taller than I had in months. I was done being a victim. Marcus arrived 15 minutes late, probably trying to make a power play. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. He sat down across from me without a greeting. "You look terrible," he said. "You look guilty." He leaned back in his chair. "Let's cut to the chase, Victoria. What do you want?" "I want my business back. I want the house. And I want you to admit what you did to our children." Marcus laughed. "You're insane. Even if you have documents, which I doubt, you can't prove anything. I have the best lawyers in the state." I slid a folder across the table. "Open it." He hesitated, then opened the folder. His face went pale as he flipped through the pages. Copies of bank statements, emails, transaction records, everything. "Where did you get this?" He whispered. "It doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm going to do with it. I can take this to the FBI. I can take it to your clients. I can take it to the media, or what? Or you can give me back what you stole. Sign over your shares of the business to me. Give me full custody of the house and all assets. And admit to Olivia and Ethan that you manipulated them." Marcus's hands were shaking. "You can't do this. I already did. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" He stared at me for a long moment. Then his expression changed. The fear disappeared, replaced by cold calculation. "You won't go to the FBI," he said, "because if you do, the business collapses. Our clients lose everything, and Olivia and Ethan lose their inheritance. You won't destroy them to get back at me." He was right, and he knew it. "You always were too soft, Victoria," he continued, standing up. "That's why I won, because I'm willing to do what you're not." He turned to walk away, and that's when I played my final card. Julian Reeves. Marcus froze. His wife, Catherine, is a very close friend of mine. We went to college together. Did you know that? I introduced you to Julian as a favor to her, because she said he needed a good investment opportunity. Marcus turned slowly, his face white. "Catherine doesn't know about Olivia yet," I said softly. "But if you walk away right now, she will. And when she finds out that you've been using our daughter to manipulate her husband, well, Julian is one of your biggest investors, isn't he? I wonder what he'll do when he discovers the truth. You wouldn't. Try me." We stared at each other. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw real fear in Marcus's eyes. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "I already told you. Everything. Or I burn it all down and we both lose." Marcus sat back down. "I need time. You have 24 hours. After that, I make the calls. I stood up and walked away, my heart pounding. I had just declared war, and there was no going back. That night, I received an unexpected call. It was Olivia. Mom? Her voice was small, uncertain. Olivia, are you okay? I need to talk to you. Can we meet? My heart raced. Of course, where? There's a park near campus. The one with the duck pond. Can you come now? 20 minutes later, I was sitting on a bench watching my daughter walk toward me. She looked different, thinner, paler, her eyes red from crying. Thank you for coming, she said, sitting down but keeping distance between us. Always. What's wrong? She was quiet for a long time, staring at the water. Finally, she spoke. Julian's wife contacted me yesterday. I felt my stomach drop. I hadn't made that call yet, which meant, what did she say? I asked carefully. She said she knew about us, about me and Julian. She said things I didn't know, about his children, about his family. Mom, I didn't know he was married. Dad told me Julian was divorced, that he was lonely and just needed companionship. The tears came then, flowing freely down her face. Your father lied to you, I said gently. About everything, she whispered. After Catherine called, I started looking into things. I found emails between Dad and Julian about business deals that I was part of. Dad was using me, Mom. He was using me to keep Julian invested in the company. I thought Julian loved me, but it was all part of Dad's plan. I moved closer, putting my arm around her. She didn't pull away. How did you find out? She asked. I could have lied. I could have protected myself, but I was done with lies. I hired an investigator. I was going to use the information to stop your father. I was going to tell Catherine myself if he didn't back down, but it looks like she found out on her own. Olivia looked at me, shock in her eyes. You were going to ruin my life? I was going to save it, I said firmly. You're 22 years old, Olivia. You have your whole life ahead of you. Julian is 47, married with children. Your father was turning you into something you're not. I couldn't let that continue. But you were going to hurt me. Sometimes the truth hurts. But it's better than living a lie. We sat in silence. Then Olivia asked the question I had been dreading. What else do you know? What else has Dad done? So I told her, all of it. The embezzlement, the fraud, the manipulation, the girlfriend. I showed her copies of the documents Richard had found. I watched her face change from shock to anger to devastation. Why? She whispered. Why would he do this to us? Because he's selfish. Because he wanted power and money and control, and he didn't care who he hurt to get it. But we're his children. I know, baby. I know. She collapsed into my arms then, sobbing. And I held her the way I had when she was little, when the world seemed too big and scary, when only Mom could make things better. What do we do now? She asked when the tears finally stopped. We make this right. Together. The next morning, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a familiar voice spoke. Mrs. Hartwell? This is Agent Sarah Mitchell from the FBI. I'd like to talk to you about your husband's business practices. My heart stopped. How did you... We've been investigating Marcus Hartwell's firm for 6 months. We have a witness who came forward with information about fraudulent activities. Your name came up in our investigation. We understand you may have additional documentation that could help our case. Who's the witness? There was a pause. I'm not at liberty to say, but I can tell you there's someone close to the situation. Someone who wants to see justice done. It hit me like a thunderbolt. Julian. Catherine must have told him everything. And he had gone to the FBI to protect himself. Agent Mitchell. I have extensive documentation of Marcus's fraud. Transaction records, emails, bank statements. Everything you need to build a case. Can you bring them to our office today? I can do better than that. I can testify. The next 2 weeks were a blur of FBI interviews, document reviews, and legal consultations. Agent Mitchell and her team were thorough, professional, and genuinely shocked by the extent of Marcus's fraud. Mrs. Hartwell, she said during one meeting, your husband defrauded over 200 clients of more than $35 million. Some of these people lost their entire retirement savings. This is one of the largest investment fraud cases we've handled in years. I felt sick. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. We believe you. Your documentation actually proves that you were kept in the dark. You may have saved your own case by coming forward. During this time, Olivia stayed with me at the hotel. Ethan came too, after I finally revealed to him who Sophie Martinez really was. He was angry at first, furious that I had tricked him. But when I showed him the evidence of what Marcus had done, his anger shifted. I should have known, he kept saying. I should have seen it. He's your father, I said. You wanted to believe in him. That's not a weakness, Ethan. That's humanity. The morning the FBI arrested Marcus at his office was surreal. I watched it on the news with my children, Olivia cried. Ethan just stared at the screen in silence, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just exhaustion. Marcus was charged with multiple counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. His bail was set at $5 million. He couldn't make it. His assets were frozen pending investigation, but the story didn't end there. The FBI investigation revealed something even more shocking. Melissa Grant, Marcus's girlfriend and accomplice, had been stealing from him too. She had set up her own shell companies and siphoned nearly $2 million from Marcus's hidden accounts. She was arrested 3 days after him. It would have been funny if it wasn't so tragic. Then came the civil lawsuits. The defrauded clients sued Marcus, the business, and anyone connected to the firm. As the original co-founder, I was named in several lawsuits. But my lawyers, real lawyers, not Marcus's puppets, were able to prove that I had been deliberately excluded from business operations for years and had reported the fraud as soon as I discovered it. The judge in our divorce case reviewed all the evidence, including the fraudulent post-nuptial agreement. She was not impressed. Mr. Hartwell, she said during the hearing, you have perpetrated one of the most egregious examples of marital fraud I have seen in my 30 years on the bench. You systematically isolated your wife from her own business, defrauded her of her assets, and manipulated your children into participating in your scheme. This court finds in favor of Mrs. Hartwell on all counts. Marcus didn't even look at me. He just stared at the table, defeated. The judge continued. All business assets, including the investment firm, will be transferred to Mrs. Hartwell. The marital home and all vehicles will be awarded to Mrs. Hartwell. All joint accounts will be unfrozen and given to Mrs. Hartwell. Mr. Hartwell, you will have supervised visitation with your children only if they consent. Do you understand? Marcus nodded silently, but I wasn't done. I stood up and addressed the judge. Your Honor, I have one request. Yes, Mrs. Hartwell? I don't want the business. I want permission to liquidate it and use the proceeds to reimburse the defrauded clients. Whatever is left will go to a fund for victims of financial fraud. The judge raised her eyebrows. That's very generous, Mrs. Hartwell. It's the right thing to do. Over the next 6 months, I worked with the FBI, the court, and a team of financial advisors to liquidate Marcus's business. We sold the assets, recovered as much money as possible from the offshore accounts, and distributed it to the victims. It wasn't enough to make everyone whole, but it was something. Marcus pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Melissa got 7 years. I didn't attend either sentencing. I had moved on. My children struggled. Olivia went to therapy to process the trauma of what her father had done to her. She eventually transferred to a new university across the country, wanting a fresh start. We talked on the phone every week. Ethan stayed closer to home. He dropped out of business school and enrolled in social work courses. I want to help people, he told me. Real people. Not just numbers on a spreadsheet. I was so proud of him I cried. As for me, I sold the mansion. Too many bad memories. I bought a smaller house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I started my own consulting firm, helping small businesses and individuals with financial planning. I used my experience with Marcus's fraud to teach people how to protect themselves. Diana Torres, my private investigator, became one of my closest friends. She helped me realize that strength doesn't mean never falling down. It means getting back up. Richard Chen took a position as my chief financial advisor. Someone needs to keep you honest, he joked. One afternoon, about a year after everything fell apart, I was working in my home office when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Julian Reeves standing there. Victoria, he said awkwardly. I hope I'm not intruding. Julian. Come in. We sat in my living room, and he looked around nervously. I wanted to apologize, he said finally, For everything. For believing Marcus. For what happened with Olivia? You didn't know, I said. I should have. I should have asked questions. I was so focused on the money, on the returns Marcus promised, that I didn't see what was really happening. And Olivia, he looked down. She was so young. I convinced myself it was okay because Marcus said she was mature for her age. But it wasn't okay. I hurt her. I hurt my own family. Catherine and I are separated now. I'm sorry to hear that. It's my own fault, but I wanted you to know. I'm going to make this right. I've been working with the FBI to help recover assets. I'm testifying at a civil trial next month, and I've set up a trust fund for Olivia. She doesn't know yet. It's not much, just enough to cover her education and help her start over. That's very kind of you. It's the least I can do. He stood up. I also wanted to thank you for coming forward, for stopping Marcus before he hurt more people. You saved lives, Victoria. You saved mine. After he left, I sat on my porch and watched the sunset. For the first time in over a year, I felt peace. My story isn't a fairy tale. There was no magical transformation, no instant happiness. Some days are still hard. Some nights I still wake up angry, thinking about all the years I wasted with Marcus, all the signs I missed. But I also learned things I never knew about myself. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive betrayal and come out the other side. That revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about reclaiming yourself. Marcus will spend the next decade in prison. His name is ruined, his empire is gone, and I could say that gives me satisfaction. But the truth is, it doesn't. What gives me satisfaction is knowing that I did the right thing, that I protected my children, that I helped people who were hurt. Olivia graduated last spring. She came home for the ceremony, and we celebrated with a small dinner, just her, Ethan, and me. No fancy speeches, no drama, just a mother and her children starting over. Mom, Olivia said that night, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm sorry. For everything I said. For believing Dad. For hurting you. I reached across the table and took her hand. You were manipulated. You were used. That's not your fault. But I should have known better. Maybe. But you know better now. And that's what matters. Ethan raised his glass. To second chances. To second chances, we echoed. Later, as I was cleaning up, Ethan pulled me aside. You know that fake profile you made? Sophie Martinez? I winced. I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. I knew it was you. I stared at him. What? Not at first. But after a few conversations, I started recognizing your speech patterns, your advice. The way you always say, trust your gut. You've been saying that my whole life. Why didn't you say anything? He smiled. Because I needed to hear it from someone I wasn't angry at. And it worked. You helped me see the truth, even when I didn't want to. I love you, Ethan. I love you too, Mom. If I could go back and change what happened, would I? I'm not sure, because as painful as it was, that betrayal taught me something crucial. I don't need a mansion or a business or even a perfect family to be whole. I just need to be true to myself. Marcus took my money, my home, my business, but he couldn't take my integrity. He couldn't take my strength. And in the end, those were the only things that mattered. So if you're out there, listening to this story, and you're going through something similar, if someone has betrayed you, used you, tried to destroy you, please hear this. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by how you respond. You can choose bitterness or you can choose growth. You can choose revenge or you can choose justice. You can choose to let them win or you can choose to reclaim your life. I chose to fight. And I won. Not because Marcus went to prison. Not because I got my money back. I won because I refused to let his betrayal break me. And that's a victory no one can ever take away. The mansion is gone. The business is gone. But I'm still here. Stronger, wiser, free. And that's worth more than anything Marcus ever gave me. My name is Victoria Hartwell. This was my story. And it's not over yet. It's just beginning. Thank you for listening. 3 years had passed since Marcus's sentencing. 3 years since I rebuilt my life from nothing. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought the story was finished. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were always slow at my consulting firm. I was reviewing a client's portfolio when my assistant Jennifer knocked on my door. Victoria, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. Her name is Carolyn Hartwell. My blood ran cold. Carolyn was Marcus's mother. I hadn't spoken to her since before the divorce. She had refused to believe anything negative about her son, had called me a liar, had sided with Marcus completely. Should I send her away? Jennifer asked, seeing my expression. No, I said slowly. Send her in. Carolyn entered my office and I barely recognized her. The proud, imperious woman I remembered was gone. In her place was someone frail, diminished. She was 78 now, her hair completely white, her hands trembling as she gripped her purse. Victoria, she said, her voice cracking. Thank you for seeing me. Mrs. Hartwell, please, sit down. She lowered herself into the chair across from my desk, moving carefully like her bones might break. I suppose you're wondering why I'm here, she said. The thought had crossed my mind. She was quiet for a moment, staring at her hands. Marcus called me last week. From prison. I said nothing, waiting. He's dying, Victoria. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors say he has maybe 6 months, probably less. I felt nothing. No sadness, no satisfaction, no anger. Just emptiness. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, because it seemed like the thing to say. He wants to see the children, Olivia and Ethan. He wants to apologize before he dies, but they won't take his calls. His letters come back unopened. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I know what he did. I know he's a monster, but he's my son, Victoria, and he's dying. Please, please, can you convince them to see him? Just once? This was the woman who had called me a gold digger, who had told Olivia and Ethan that I was mentally unstable, who had testified in court that Marcus was a perfect husband and father. I should have said no. I should have sent her away, but when I looked at her, I didn't see my enemy. I just saw a mother, terrified of losing her son, desperate for some kind of redemption for him before the end. I can't make that decision for them, I said quietly. They're adults, but I'll talk to them. I'll tell them what you've told me. What they do with that information is up to them. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, staring at nothing. Then I picked up my phone. I called Olivia first. She was living in Seattle now, working for a nonprofit that helped victims of financial fraud. She had turned her pain into purpose. Mom, is everything okay? I need to tell you something. Your grandmother came to see me today. I explained everything, Marcus's cancer, his request to see them, Carolyn's plea. Olivia was silent for a long time. Then she said, I don't know if I can do that, Mom. I don't know if I can face him. I understand. Whatever you decide, I support you. What would you do? I thought about it carefully. I'd probably go. Not for him, for yourself. So you don't spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? But that's just me, honey. You have to do what's right for you. Can I think about it? Of course. The call with Ethan was different. He listened to everything I had to say, then gave me his answer immediately. No, I'm not going. Ethan, Mom, he used us. He manipulated us into betraying you. He destroyed people's lives. And now, because he's dying, we're supposed to forgive him? Give him peace? No, he doesn't deserve it. This isn't about what he deserves, sweetheart. It's about what you need. What I need is to never see him again. I couldn't argue with that. Okay, I respect your decision. But 3 days later, Ethan called me back. I changed my mind, he said. I'm going to see him, but only if Olivia goes too. And only if you come with us. My heart stopped. Me? Ethan, I don't think... Please, Mom, I can't do this without you. Neither can Olivia. We need you there. So that's how 2 weeks later, I found myself walking into a federal prison with my 2 children, about to face the man who had destroyed my life. The prison was exactly as bleak as you'd imagine. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant and despair. We were searched, scanned, and led through multiple security checkpoints before finally reaching the visitation room. Marcus was already there, sitting at a metal table, his hands cuffed in front of him. And I almost didn't recognize him. Prison had destroyed him. He had lost at least 50 pounds. His skin was gray, hanging loose on his bones. His eyes, once so sharp and calculating, were dull, sunken. He looked like he had aged 30 years. When he saw us, something flickered in those eyes. Hope, maybe, or fear. Olivia, Ethan, Victoria. His voice was hoarse, weak. You came. Olivia sat down first, her face carefully blank. Ethan stayed standing, his arms crossed. I remained near the door, ready to leave if things went wrong. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said. "I know you didn't have to." "No, we didn't," Ethan said coldly. "So make this quick." Marcus flinched. "I deserve that. I deserve all of it. I wanted to see you before." He coughed, a wet, rattling sound. When he recovered, there was blood on his lips. "Before it's too late, what do you want from us?" Olivia asked. "Forgiveness?" "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know the truth, all of it." "We know the truth," Ethan said. "You're a criminal, a liar. You destroyed Mom, you used us, you stole from innocent people. What else is there to know?" Marcus looked at me for the first time. "Did you tell them about the accident?" I felt the blood drain from my face. "Don't." "What accident?" Olivia asked, looking between us. "Your father is talking about something that happened a long time ago," I said quickly. "It's not relevant." "It's the most relevant thing of all," Marcus said. He turned back to our children. 25 years ago, before you were born, your mother and I were in a car accident. I was driving. I had been drinking. We hit another car. The driver died." Olivia's hand flew to her mouth. Ethan went pale. "Your mother wasn't drinking," Marcus continued. "But when the police came, I begged her to say she was driving. I told her I'd lose my license, my job, everything. And she agreed. She took the blame. She went through months of legal hell, lost her driver's license for a year, paid massive fines. All to protect me." "Why are you telling them this?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Because they need to know who you really are, Victoria. They need to know what you sacrificed. I built my entire empire on your sacrifice. Every success I had, every deal I closed, it was built on the foundation of your integrity. And I repaid you by destroying you." Tears were streaming down Olivia's face now. "Mom, is this true?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded, Marcus continued, his voice getting weaker. "I manipulated you both. I told you your mother was controlling, cold, obsessed with perfection. But the truth is, she was trying to protect you. She saw what I was becoming, and she tried to stop it. And I punished her for it. Why?" Ethan asked, his voice breaking. "Why did you do it?" "Because I'm weak," Marcus said simply. "Because I wanted more and more and more, and I didn't care who I hurt to get it. I told myself I was doing it for you, for our family. But that was a lie. I was doing it for myself, and by the time I realized what I'd become, it was too late." He looked at each of us in turn. "Olivia, what I did to you with Julian Reeves, that was unforgivable. I used you like a chess piece. I destroyed your innocence because it was profitable. I am so sorry." Olivia was sobbing now, her shoulders shaking. "Ethan, I taught you that ruthlessness was strength, that compassion was weakness. I tried to turn you into a copy of me. And I'm grateful, so grateful that I failed. You're a better man than I ever was." He turned to me last. "Victoria, I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know, everything I took from you I've lost 10 times over. The money, the power, the respect, all of it meant nothing. The only things that ever mattered were the things I destroyed. My family, my integrity, my soul." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Olivia spoke. "I don't forgive you. I can't, not yet, maybe not ever, but I'm glad I came. I needed to hear this." Ethan nodded slowly. "Me too." They both stood up to leave, but I stayed where I was. "Give us a minute," I said to my children. "I'll meet you outside." They looked uncertain, but they left. And then it was just Marcus and me, alone in that prison visitation room. "Why did you tell them about the accident?" I asked. "After all these years, why now?" "Because they needed to know who the hero really was," Marcus said. "And it was never me." I sat down across from him. "You're dying, yes. Are you scared?" He smiled sadly. "Terrified. Not of death, of what comes after, of facing the people I hurt, the people who lost everything because of me. Do you really regret it? Or are you just scared of dying alone?" He considered this. "Maybe both. Does it matter?" "I don't know." We sat in silence. Then Marcus said something that surprised me. "I loved you, you know. In my own broken way. I just loved money and power more. And by the time I realized what I'd lost, you were already gone. You didn't lose me, Marcus. You threw me away." "I know." I stood up to leave. But at the door I turned back. "Marcus." "Yes?" "I hope you find peace." "I really do." He smiled. tears in his eyes. "Thank you, Victoria, for everything, even this." I walked out of that prison, and I never looked back. That night, back at my house, Olivia, Ethan, and I sat around my kitchen table. None of us had spoken much on the drive home. We were all processing what had happened. Finally, Olivia broke the silence. "Mom, why didn't you ever tell us about the accident?" I poured myself a glass of wine, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. "Because it was over, done. Bringing it up would have just made your father look bad, and I didn't want you to think less of him." "But he made you look bad," Ethan said. "He told us you were controlling, that you were impossible to live with. And all along, you were the one who had sacrificed everything for him." "I made my choices," I said. "And I have to live with them." "But they weren't fair choices," Olivia insisted. "He manipulated you, just like he manipulated us." "Maybe. But here's what I've learned. Life isn't about fair. It's about what you do with the hand you're dealt. Yes, your father betrayed me. Yes, he used me. But I also let him. I ignored red flags. I trusted when I should have questioned. That's on me." "You're making excuses for him," Ethan said. "No, I'm taking responsibility for my part in it." "There's a difference." Olivia leaned forward. "Mom, can I ask you something? Why did you fight back? After the divorce, after everything, why didn't you just walk away?" I thought about this carefully. At first it was anger. I wanted revenge. I wanted him to suffer the way I had suffered. But then it became about something else. About justice. About protecting other people. About making sure that what happened to me didn't happen to anyone else. "And was it worth it?" Ethan asked. "Every minute of it." We talked for hours that night. About Marcus, about the past, about the future. And slowly, I saw my children begin to heal. Not completely. Healing takes time. But they were starting to understand that people are complicated. That someone can love you and hurt you at the same time. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Around midnight, Olivia said something that made my heart break and swell at the same time. "I want to be like you, Mom." I laughed, wiping away tears. "No, you don't. Trust me. Yes, I do. You're the strongest person I know. You lost everything, and you built it all back. You were betrayed by everyone, and you still chose to do the right thing. That's who I want to be?" "Me too," Ethan added. "You're our hero, Mom. You always have been." We were just too stupid to see it. I pulled them both into a hug, holding them tight. "You're not stupid. You're human, and I love you both more than anything in this world." 3 months later, I received a call from the prison. Marcus had died peacefully in the infirmary. His mother was with him at the end. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just felt relief. It was finally over. The funeral was small. Just Carolyn, a few of Marcus's old colleagues who still believed in him, and, surprisingly, Olivia and Ethan. I didn't attend. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt, but that night Olivia called me. "We spoke at the funeral," she said. "Ethan and we told everyone the truth, about what Dad did, about who you really are. Some people walked out, but some people listened. And afterward, 3 of Dad's victims came up to us. They said they forgave us, that they knew we were victims too." "That must have been hard," I said. "It was the right thing to do." "You taught us that. 5 years have passed since Marcus died. 5 years since that birthday morning when my world collapsed. And in those 5 years, everything has changed. My consulting firm has grown. I now employ 15 people, all dedicated to helping individuals and small businesses protect themselves from fraud. We've prevented dozens of scams, helped hundreds of people recover from financial abuse. It's meaningful work, important work." Olivia is engaged now to a wonderful man named David who treats her with respect and kindness. They're planning a small wedding next spring. She asked me to help plan it, and I cried for an hour straight when she asked. Ethan just got his master's degree in social work. He's working with at-risk youth, helping kids who've been failed by their families. He calls me every Sunday just to talk. And me? I'm dating someone. His name is Robert, and he's a retired teacher. He's kind, patient, and completely unimpressed by money or status. He makes me laugh. He makes me feel safe. And for the first time in my life, I'm in a relationship where I'm not constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. Last week, we were having dinner when he asked me something unexpected. "Victoria, can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Do you regret it? Any of it?" Fighting back, exposing Marcus, everything you went through? I thought about this for a long time. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It cost me years of my life, relationships, peace of mind, but it also taught me who I really am, and that's priceless. You're remarkable, you know that? I smiled. I'm just someone who refused to stay down. That's not remarkable. That's survival, but maybe it is remarkable. Maybe choosing to fight, to rebuild, to forgive, maybe that's the most remarkable thing any of us can do. Yesterday, I received a letter. It was from one of Marcus's victims, a woman named Patricia Chen who had lost her entire retirement savings to his fraud. She had received a partial reimbursement from the liquidation fund I set up. The letter said, "Dear Mrs. Hartwell, I want you to know that what you did, coming forward, fighting for justice, it saved my life. Not just financially, but emotionally. You showed me that good people still exist, that integrity matters, that we don't have to let the bad guys win. Thank you for being brave when so many others would have stayed silent. You're my hero. And if you're out there, listening to this, going through your own betrayal, your own nightmare, please hear this. You are stronger than you know. The pain you're feeling right now won't last forever. And on the other side of this darkness, there's a version of you that you haven't met yet. A version that's braver, fiercer, more authentic than you ever imagined. Don't give up. Don't let them win. Don't let the betrayal define your story. Because your story isn't over. It's just beginning. And trust me, the best chapters are yet to come. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way forward. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step.